Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's March 22nd, 2023 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor. My colleagues from right to left, Councilmember Robin Wilt, Councilmember Jason DePonzio, Councilmember Chris Werner, and Councilmember Christine Corrado. In just a few minutes, I will be presenting the town's annual State of the Town message. Thereafter, we will begin the open forum portion of our meeting. That's the opportunity for members of the public to share their comments with the town board. Now, when we get to that part of the meeting, if you're watching us on YouTube or on our cable access channel and you want to continue participating remotely, you'll have to log into Zoom in order to speak during the open forum. Now, there's detailed instructions for doing that on the Town of Brighton webpage at www.townofbrighton.org. As we always do, we continue to make our meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters, Allie and Heather. Thank you both very much. We appreciate having you every meeting. As a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, as well as all the materials that we'll be looking at in making our decisions, are available on the Town of Brighton webpage, as well as in a folder at the back of the room for those of you that are here in person. We'll start the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I'll ask everyone that can stand to please do so. Councilmember DePonzio, if you would lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one proclamation to present tonight, and I would like to call Peggy, Rich, Michael, and I'd love to call Anya, but I guess Anya isn't here tonight. So come on up to the podium, along with anybody else that is with them that would like to join us. A few weeks ago, a group of volunteers, led by these wonderful people here with me, held the first ever Brickyard Trail art exhibit in the Buckland House. Now, most of you know how much I love the Brickyard Trail, but even I, and Peggy will attest to this, even I couldn't have possibly imagined how successful this event would be, how many people would attend. And in no small part, that success was due to this group of volunteers from the Friends of the Brickyard Trail who organized this art exhibit. So we have a proclamation, and I know Peggy has something too, but we're going to read the proclamation first.
Okay.
Whereas parks, trails, and green spaces are important for the health of the environment and our quality of life. Whereas in 2016, the Town of Brighton dedicated the Sandra L. Frankel Nature Park, opening the now beloved Brickyard Trail, which provides pedestrian access between Westfall Road and Elmwood Avenue, linking Buckland Park to neighborhoods. And whereas the Brickyard Trail quickly attracted numerous walkers, joggers, and bicyclists, we missed the dog walkers, but they're there too, providing peaceful travel along a stone dust trail that traverses the old Brighton Brickyard, featuring wetlands, woods, and ponds. And whereas over time, a band of regulars found walking daily on the Brickyard Trail formed an alliance and became the Friends of the Brickyard Trail, demonstrating that trails connect people, not just places. And whereas so inspiring are the sights and the sounds of the trail that many people seek to capture their experience through art. And whereas during 2 weekends in February 2023, the walls of the historic Buckland House were adorned with photographs, paintings, and shadow boxes inspired by the wildlife and the landscape of the Brickyard Trail. And whereas from conception to completion, the successful Brickyard Trail Art Exhibition was made possible by the tireless, dedicated volunteers of the Friends of the Brickyard Trail. And whereas tonight, we proudly thank Peggy Dempsey, Ania Michas, Rich Dempsey, and Michael Hager for their grand undertaking and for sharing yet another beautiful benefit of the Brickyard Trail, the art it inspires. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of the Brighton Town Council do hereby applaud the successful Brickyard Trail Art Exhibition and warmly recognize those Friends of the Brickyard Trail that made it possible. And this proclamation has been signed by me and by my colleagues on the town board this 22nd day of March 2023. I will present each of you with a copy of this proclamation. We'll do a photo op or two. Yes, let's do it. Michael, I will give you two.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn the podium over, I think, to my good friend and trail buddy, Peggy Dempsey.
So when the trail
Here,
opened,
why don't you come over to the...
when the trail opened in 2016, it wasn't very long after that the Friends of the Brickyard Trail formed. It was particularly spontaneous. Someone was running down the trail and said, "Peggy, is there a Friends of the Brickyard Trail?" And I said, "No." She said, "We should start one." And we did. And the Friends of the Brickyard Trail is a group that supports the and promotes, but not too much, the trail so that all people can enjoy it and learn from it. We've sponsored several walks, a bunch of other things. Late in 2019, we had the idea we'd have an art show and started to think about it and started to plan it. And then 2020 came along and we didn't. So, so we began to think about it again a few months ago, and with the help of the Parks Department, Matt Beeman and his whole crew, and Becky Cotter from the Recreation Department, and Mary Jo Lanphier, and Bill's support, and all these wonderful people who are some of the artists, we created the plans to have the show. As Bill said, it was more successful than we thought. We had over 350 people who came, and many of them were very happy not only to see and enjoy the artwork, but also to enjoy the Buckland House, which we hope will be used for further community activities. I had created a poster, and Michael Hager, who is an amazing printer. Is that what we're going to call it? A printer? An artist. Yeah, printed several up, and so what we did was we had this framed, and I had all the artists sign it, and would like to present this to the town of Brighton so that you can put it somewhere, and when you are, I was going to say, when you're tired of being inside of a building, you can just walk out and go across the street and enjoy the Brickyard Trail. Thank you to Brighton for supporting parks and for supporting the arts. We very much appreciate it. We in the community think it's grand. Keep up the good work.
Just waiting for everyone to get, there we go. And one more.
Don't go anywhere, because if you will excuse me for a moment, since it is a Brickyard tradition,
Oh, we have
let's see if we
have a
can,
selfie.
let's see if we can do this. Come on in, everybody.
Okay, short people in front.
Is that behind? Oh, there's Rich. Okay. Bravo.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Bravo. And we will certainly display this prominently and look forward to Brickyard 2 next year.
Next time. Thank you.
As I mentioned, I will now be presenting the annual State of the Town message. And I do want to thank all of you for joining us here in the room. For any of you who are watching remotely, I want to thank you as well. As we do at all significant events and gatherings here at Town Hall, I first acknowledge that the town of Brighton is situated on the ancestral and traditional lands of the Onondaga tribe of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, whom we recognize and respect as the traditional custodians of this land throughout the generations. We pay our respects to Onondaga elders, both past and present. The history, the culture, and the traditions of the Onondaga are truly worthy of our understanding and study, and we praise those who keep their traditions alive. We recognize that that study is of ongoing importance if we are to truly understand the history of our community and our nation. We support efforts to ensure that we and future generations continue to respect the Onondaga in a way that is honest and truthful, so that in the words of Sacagawea, the great Haudenosaunee chief and orator, also known as Red Jacket, we may always work together to brighten the chain of friendship. Tonight, together, we can be proud to live in Brighton and proud of the many accomplishments from the past year. We've not gotten to where we are today as a community by resting on our laurels, and we acknowledge that while we face great opportunities, we also face great challenges as we move forward. Tonight in the State of the Town message, I will lay out some of those accomplishments and share my vision for Brighton's future, understanding that we will face challenges, some of which are regional, national, or even global. Meeting those challenges will take hard work and will require collaboration at all levels. I know that we're up to the test and that our shared commitment to Brighton as a diverse, welcoming, safe, and sustainable community will be our guiding star as we face and overcome the challenges ahead. 2020 census data shows that Brighton is the most diverse town in Monroe County. I believe that's a statistic to celebrate and an opportunity for Brighton to demonstrate that diversity can strengthen a community and can foster engagement, learning, and celebration among residents, and can fundamentally bring community and neighborhood residents closer together in a shared embrace of different life experiences. That was some of the thinking behind the establishment of Brighton's Volunteer Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board, our IDEA Board, at the encouragement of Councilmember Robin Wilt back in 2019. Since then, the IDEA Board met through pandemic, garnering public input on its plans, particularly its plans to develop the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Action Plan, the IDEA Plan, which was adopted by the town board in 2021. Even before the idea plan was approved by the town board unanimously made the decision to fund the position of Chief Diversity Officer in the 2022 budget. And we had the good fortune to hire Miriam Moore as our first Chief Diversity Officer nearly a year ago. Since that time, Miriam has led internal quarterly DEI training and communications, helped organize significant community celebrations such as Juneteenth and Pride. She's played a significant role in hiring decisions and worked with each department head to get input and implement best practices in their departments. But she's also engaged deeply with the broader Brighton community, building on her existing relationships within the Rochester area. She's even gained recognition for her work statewide. In February, Miriam, Councilmember Wilt, and I presented a program on Brighton's experience advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion at the New York State Association of Towns annual meeting in New York City. Over 50 town officials from across the state attended the training, and we've received requests for follow-up guidance for several towns since that time. Thank you, Miriam. On a related front, Monroe County recently announced a list of now over 200 area businesses that will qualify under a new county MWBE program, identifying businesses that are controlled by women or members of minority groups. We can use that list as part of our procurement process. The county has implemented standards that make it easier for smaller businesses to qualify for this program than it is to qualify for the much more complicated state MWBE program. And I'm currently working to establish goals for the town of Brighton to use these firms along with state MWBEs for a greater portion of our procurement, thereby keeping business local and encouraging the growth of small businesses that are the lifeblood of our local economy. Kudos to County Executive Adam Bello for this new initiative and the myriad of ways in which the county has collaborated with the town of Brighton since he was first elected a little over 3 years ago. And I do want to thank and acknowledge County Legislator Linda Hasman, who is one of our county legislators representing the town of Brighton. Thank you. Brighton has received national recognition in a number of areas over the past few years. Brighton was named the best place to live in New York by the National Registry, niche.com. Last year, Realtor.com, the website for the National Association of Realtors, named Brighton's 14618 zip code the hottest zip code in America, based on market demand, measured by the number of individual views for listed homes, as well as the number of days listings on Realtor.com remained active. Now comes the news that Brighton Central School District Superintendent, Dr. Kevin McGowan, has just been named, to no surprise to those of us that have known him, the best school district superintendent in the nation. Dr. McGowan couldn't be with us this evening, but I congratulate him, and I particularly note the important work in raising outcomes for all students in the Brighton Central School District as one of the primary reasons he received that recognition. Each of these awards and others are important because they highlight attributes of Brighton that make us an attractive community in which to live, work, and play, and do business. The awards we've received demonstrate the desirability of Brighton as a place to call home. Going forward, we're also committed to bringing affordable housing to Brighton, and we look forward to giving formal land use review to affordable housing proposals that are currently being discussed with town staff. We also appreciate housing proposals like those included in the New York State Senate and Assembly 2024 one-house budgets. Those proposals may offer useful incentives to communities that improve housing opportunities. As we address housing needs, we can also be proud to continue to address the increased need for open space. During the pandemic, we all know that more people sought out outdoor activity. Recognizing this increased demand for open space, last year we completed the purchase of over 44 acres of land at the corner of Winton and Westfall Roads, recognizing the importance of this highly visible and centrally located parcel of land. With that purchase, Brighton's Buckland Park now contains over 190 acres of open space, some of which is devoted to a combination of active recreation, lodge, and field use, but the majority of which remains and will remain in its open natural state, serving as green space habitat for a wide variety of animal and plant species, as well as helping to remove carbon emissions from the atmosphere. Adding to open space in Brighton is just one of the many ways we're moving the needle on the critical issue of sustainability. Brighton has long held sustainability as a core policy value. And while we've already made a great deal of progress in making Brighton a more sustainable community, I submit the best is yet to come. Indeed, it must be, because we in the world face an existential issue when it comes to climate change and carbon emissions. Brighton is a climate-smart community and a clean energy community, both programs sponsored by the state of New York. Brighton has begun the purchase of electric vehicles and is seeking state grant funding to install a system of EV charging stations in locations around town. Brighton is currently updating its climate action plan with a long-standing goal of measuring and then reducing greenhouse gas emissions, both from town operations as well as from the Brighton community as a whole. Our Sustainability Oversight Committee consists of volunteer community residents with expertise in sustainability, and we regularly seek their counsel, and I thank them for their hard work. Brighton can't change the world alone, but we can serve as a role model and continue to lead the way, as we have for years, towards a greener Rochester area and a greener New York. Brighton is in a perfect position to incorporate another sustainability initiative that I'm proposing tonight, the urban planning concept of incorporating the 15-minute town into our planning and other decision-making. And I'm committed to adopting policies that will make Brighton even more of a 15-minute town than it already is today. Why is that important? What's a 15-minute town? A 15-minute town is one in which most necessities and services, including things like employment opportunities, shopping, education, food, healthcare, leisure, and worship, just to name some, are accessible within a 15-minute walk, transit, or bicycle ride, thereby reducing community car dependency, promoting lifestyles that are sustainable, and improving the quality of life. Brighton will work with its partners in government, as well as neighborhood residents, to fund and build more sidewalks and trails, rejecting sprawl. We've already worked with state and county governments to advocate for road diets, turning 4 lanes that encourage sprawl and excessive speeds into 3-lane complete streets with multimodal sidewalks or bike lanes. And we expect to see more arterial highway projects in Brighton incorporate these complete street concepts in the very near future. I also support a thorough consideration of the recent recommendation of the Sustainability Oversight Committee to include the review of clean energy options for new town building proposals, including the proposed renovation project of this town hall, as well as the proposed community center project. It may not be possible to incorporate every clean energy option into every project, But it is important, as we plan for our future, that we do something to address these available green energy options to make sure that as we prepare for a future, high-level carbon emissions are no longer an option. We know that Brighton's effective use of incentive zoning and other smart growth planning techniques for the review of development projects, including specifically the redevelopment of existing commercial districts, the encouragement of mixed uses and somewhat denser development limits, particularly near natural community hubs like the 12 Corners, will not only advance our sustainability goals, but they'll also make Brighton a more walkable, more livable, and more accessible community for us all. Those plans will also enhance our tax revenues and community amenities in a community where new commercial development opportunities are hard to come by, but the redevelopment of existing commercial land and the incorporation of mixed-use development into an overall plan can be transformational. The Whole Foods Project, surely the most talked about project, and unfortunately, the most litigated project in Brighton's history, is a prime example of a development project that incorporates smart growth principles. It is a project that is consistent with Brighton's comprehensive plan and other important plans, and it is a project that promotes economic development along one of Brighton's primary commercial corridors. It will make Brighton more of a 15-minute town, incorporating not only a new active transportation corridor, the Auburn Trail, but also essential food and healthcare opportunities within a 15-minute walk or bike ride for hundreds, literally thousands of households in Brighton and beyond. All of the new buildings on the site are constructed on land zoned for commercial use, and the project site is redeveloped, of course, from prior commercial uses. Brighton and our residents have already received 3 primary incentive zoning amenities relating to the project. The most important amenity, of course, is the construction of the Auburn Trail, running north-south, approximately 2 miles from the Rochester border to the Pittsford border. In Brighton, the Auburn Trail runs along a long abandoned rail line and will provide recreational opportunities as well as pedestrian and bicycle access to the Whole Foods Plaza. A second project amenity is a new service road behind the businesses across Monroe Avenue from the Whole Foods Plaza. That service road was constructed as part of an access management plan to provide safer and better access to Monroe Avenue. This access road was first recommended in Brighton's 2011 Monroe Avenue design charrette, led by former town board member Sheila Gaddis. Today, we have put that plan into reality. Together with the new traffic signals at the entrance to the Whole Foods Plaza, the access management plan allows traffic at all of the businesses along Monroe Avenue across from the plaza to enter and exit businesses safely without being forced to make unprotected left turns without a traffic signal. This improvement, along with other design improvements in the area, has reduced the number of motor vehicle accidents, improving safety, and reducing the traffic congestion that is caused by accidents. The third and final amenity that I referenced is a conservation easement over about an acre parcel of land east of the plaza. That conservation easement will serve as a buffer to Clover Street residents. Each of these amenities was provided at no cost to Brighton taxpayers because the town used, as we have done repeatedly over the past 30 years, the state's incentive zoning framework for project approval. Incentive zoning allows communities like Brighton to require developers to offset project impacts with community amenities, as the town did with the Whole Foods project. But the town of Brighton went several steps farther. During the development review process, the town board held 5 public hearings, and in response to the input that we heard, reduced the size of the project and eliminated access to the site from Allens Creek Road and Clover Street, protecting nearby neighborhoods. Of course, the project will also generate property tax revenues, projected at over $400,000 a year, which will significantly reduce the pressure on Brighton's residential taxpayers. Contrary to the allegations repeatedly made by a paid lobbyist for Wegmans, there are no special tax deals for this project. None. At 50,000 square feet, though, the new Whole Foods is far less than half the size of Wegmans' store in Pittsford Plaza. And based on estimates by traffic engineers incorporated in the environmental review of the project, the Whole Foods Plaza will cause less than a minute of additional traffic delay once the likely initial excitement about the store opening has abated. Whole Foods will provide new options for consumers, particularly organic and healthy options, and the other businesses in the plaza will also be welcome additions to the community. I'm grateful to our building and planning department staff who have given this project detailed review and who persevered in their efforts, despite controversy fomented by that same paid lobbyist and frivolous litigation funded by Wegmans intended solely to keep a competitor out of town. Now, ironically, just this past week, a news organization in Virginia wrote about a lawsuit in that state where Wegmans is arguing that they should receive a special exception to build a 1.7 million square foot warehouse close to a historic community in Virginia founded by freed people after the Civil War. Contrast that with the 50,000 square foot Whole Foods store here in Brighton that Wegmans has spent years and millions of dollars trying to block, with that same mouthpiece falsely claiming some special deal. A brief filed on Wegmans' behalf in the Virginia case frets that there may be, quote, years of litigation in each land use development, end quote. I'll say it again. Wegmans has had its day, actually days and weeks and years in court. Their often frivolous arguments have been turned down again and again at great cost to taxpayers. Wegmans has had a reputation as a good corporate citizen, and tonight I again call on Wegmans to show the Brighton community that that's still true. I call on Wegmans to finally put this frivolous litigation aside, refuse to fund any more appeals, and move forward to serve our community. The safety of our community is also an essential function of local government. It is essential that the community is served by first responders and law enforcement in a way that every member of the community can feel confident. Brighton is served by the Brighton Police Department, Brighton and Henrietta Fire Departments, and Brighton Volunteer Ambulance. Each of those agencies are highly trained and locally controlled. We have representatives from Brighton Volunteer Ambulance tonight, Dennis Meitz, Michael Pollack, thank you both, and Don Jeffries, who wears a lot of hats. One of them is with the Brighton Fire Department. Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you.
Each one of these agencies has engaged in training to help ensure that they are able to recognize and work with individuals facing mental health crises. Later tonight, the town board will receive a communication with identifying information redacted from a Brighton resident thanking the Brighton Police Department for the professional and sympathetic manner manner in which they interacted with him when he was facing a mental health issue. That is always the goal of an agency committed to community policing, as the Brighton Police Department is, led by Chief David Cathaldi. In addition, the Brighton Police Department is currently training with our Chief Diversity Officer, Miriam Moore, and I'm very pleased that the Brighton Fire Department has established its own diversity committee under the leadership of David Metzger, who has also met with Miriam. This is one more indication of the value and the strength of the decision to establish the position of Chief Diversity Officer and how her impact ripples through the community. Thank you, Miriam. Also important is the way in which our local agencies work in collaboration with each other and in collaboration with other public safety agencies. Just yesterday, I participated in a training exercise with the Brighton Police and Fire Department, and I believe the Henrietta Fire Department was there as well, participating among many organizations and agencies. At that exercise, I witnessed firsthand how training and collaboration helps prepare our team for the kind of incidents that we have seen too often across the nation, and yes, close to home in Buffalo. Thank you to each of our homegrown public safety agencies, Brighton Police, Brighton Fire, Henrietta Fire, and Brighton Volunteer Ambulance, and to your representatives that are here tonight. Thank you very much. It goes without saying, I mentioned challenges a minute ago. One of the challenges we continue to face locally is a systematic set of issues with the performance of Rochester Gas and Electric. Billing errors are endemic, not just in Brighton, but throughout RG&E's service area. My assistant, Bridget Monroe, has assisted scores of local households with their billing issues, but RG&E continues to send erroneous bills or no bills, or both, to residents in our community and others with alarming frequency. Our streetlight circuits fail too often and still can't support energy-efficient LED lighting. Insufficient power supply and infrastructure continues to constrain much-needed development in Brighton and elsewhere. And on top of that, RG&E has again asked for a rate increase, this time a massive 20% increase. An RG&E representative even suggested recently that the rate increase was going to be necessary to pay for improvements to a power circuit that has been failing residents along Edgewood Avenue with alarming frequency for years. My response was simple: no. No. We've brought neighborhood representatives together to hear RG&E's plans for that circuit and other improvements, and we'll do so again. But I've already testified against this latest increase for a rate hike, just as I opposed RG&E's last request. And we will not stand silently by while our residents are held hostage to repeated service failures while a monopoly raises its rates with impunity. I encourage the Public Safety Commission to reject any rate increase until RG&E has proven that they can address the problems at hand, and that they will closely examine the systemic problems at RG&E, and by they, I mean that the Public Service Commission closely examine those systemic problems to explore ways to address the root cause of those problems, which may include the fact that instead of being headquartered in downtown Rochester, as it was for years, RG&E is now merely a small part of an international utility conglomerate headquartered thousands of miles away. In the meantime, please continue to reach out to my office with your RG&E billing and other customer service problems, and Bridget will continue to do her best to get the company's attention to your concerns. And I want to thank my assistant to the supervisor, Bridget Monroe. The Brighton Farmers Market is a great community asset under the leadership of market manager Sue Gardner-Smith. The market supports local farmers and producers and provides a community gathering place that brings people, music, community groups, and sustainably grown and produced food together, no matter the weather. The Brighton Central School District has been our host, both for the summer market at Brighton High School and the winter market at Brookside for many years, and we're grateful for that. Again, I want to thank the school district and specifically Superintendent Dr. Kevin McGowan for his friendship and collaboration with us in such a wide variety of areas. And now the next market chapter is about to begin. You've no doubt seen the construction on Westfall Road in Buckland Park, next to the barn that's already been renovated. That's a new addition being built to the barn. And by next fall, that expanded barn will become the new home of the Brighton Winter Farmers Market. We appreciate the support that this project has received over the years. First, from Congressman Joe Morelli when he was a member of the Assembly. More recently, from Assembly member Sarah Clark. Congressman Morelli and our state delegation members, Senator Jerry McCooney and Assembly member Clark, are in Washington and Albany, respectively, but each of them has been steadfast supporters of Brighton and our vision, and I thank each of them for their support. Brighton's fiscal condition has never been stronger. The most recent accolades for Brighton's fiscal strength came from New York State Comptroller Thomas DiNapoli, who for the first time awarded Brighton a perfect score for fiscal strength in the Comptroller's annual review of the fiscal stress levels faced by each municipality in the state during 2022. As we've discussed before, Moody's bond rating agency rates Brighton AA2, one of its highest ratings. We continue to practice prudent fiscal management and budgeting with conservative revenue estimates and scrupulous adherence to state law and the Government Accounting Standards Board standards for government accounting. Much of the credit for Brighton's fiscal strength goes to Finance Director Paula Parker and Deputy Finance Director Suzanne Zaso, who guide our financial planning and budget development. As we develop our 2024 through 2026 capital improvement plan, and thereafter our 2024 town budget, we will remain vigilant in balancing our fiscal responsibilities with quality of life expenditures in an open and transparent process. Tonight is not a night just to celebrate our successes. Just as importantly, maybe more importantly, it's a night to celebrate and acknowledge our Town of Brighton team, who work hard for the people of Brighton every day, as well as the people who serve our community as first responders, as volunteers on our community boards, like the IDEA Board and others, other community organizations, as leaders in their churches, synagogues, or mosques, as people committed to serving the underserved, and as coaches and leaders in youth sports and other youth activities. Local government is the government closest to the people, but it is also the level of government that is often most stretched for resources. So we cannot thank our volunteers enough. Each one of you, each one of our volunteers, no matter what you do, helps make Brighton a place that people are proud to call home. Each of our department heads leads an effective and responsive organization providing key government services. Many of them are here tonight, as they are at each one of our meetings. But first, I want to acknowledge, thank, and recognize Mike Guyon, who recently retired as Brighton's Commissioner of Public Works, Highway Superintendent, and Sewer Commissioner. Tomorrow night, Mike is being honored at a dinner in Binghamton as New York State Public Works Leader of the Year. Previously, he was recognized as Leader of the Year for the Genesee region by the American Public Works Association. And this is, of course, recognition for his outstanding career in public service. Thank you, Mike. I've already mentioned Paula Parker and the outstanding results that she and Deputy Finance Director Suzanne Saso and the entire Finance Department have achieved in properly and prudently managing the fiscal affairs of the town. Thank you, Paula. Town Attorney Ken Gordon, who is also a former member of the town board, therefore is able to bring both a legal and a governmental perspective to his work. As such, he is uniquely able to advise from a legal as well as that governmental perspective. As a former town attorney myself and as supervisor, I know firsthand how valuable that role is, and Ken, I thank you for your work. Brighton Police Chief Dave Cathaldi is a highly respected leader in law enforcement in this region, and for good reason. As I said before, public safety is a critical concern of local government, but it is just as important that there be a proactive commitment to equitable work in law enforcement. Chief Cathaldi has been exactly that kind of a proactive leader, working in collaboration with and implementing recommendations of groups like United Christian Leadership Ministries and so many others to ensure the highest level of community police engagement at all levels of the Brighton Police Department. Thank you, Chief. Since the start of the pandemic, people have been spending more time outdoors. For Brighton residents, but also for people from around the area, a great deal of that time has been spent enjoying Brighton parks and trails. Matt Beeman, our park superintendent, has worked steadily to ensure that our park system is well maintained and safe, despite all of this increased usage. As we purchase more land and construct more trails, the burden on the Parks Department has steadily increased, but Matt and his team are more than up to the challenge. Earlier this evening, we presented a proclamation to the Friends of the Brickyard Trail for the Brickyard Art exhibition they organized. That exhibition could not have happened without Recreation Director Becky Cotter, who worked with the organizers on many aspects of that event, including, and in addition to, the broad range of recreation activities that the town conducts every day under Becky's purview. As we prepare to consider the report of a consultant on the future of recreation and community activities in Brighton, Becky will be at the helm, taking on yet another responsibility, making sure we're well advised and well prepared for the future recreational needs of Brighton. Now, this is important. I also believe that Becky is the only person who knows the Brickyard Bunny well enough to make sure that the bunny visits us in Brighton this time of year. So Becky, we're counting on you. It's important that the town assessor be knowledgeable about property valuation, but it also is vitally important that the assessor be able to engage with residents and explain often complicated real estate tax matters in a way that can easily be understood. Town Assessor Pam Post is relatively new to the position in Brighton, but she came from many years of experience in Canandaigua just last year. I've heard loud and clear from the community how much folks appreciate Pam's willingness to be patient and thorough in working with community members, especially our seniors, to address those often complicated property tax exemptions and other issues. As we all know, without computers, it is nearly impossible for any of us to function. You can make an argument then that makes our IT director, Jeremy Lutz, the most important person in Town Hall. The IT department is small, but extremely responsive. And during the past year has not only led a transition to Windows 365, but has also worked with other departments, particularly Public Works and Highway, as they plan and execute important software transitions. This past year, Gary Donofrio was promoted to the position of maintenance mechanic, responsible for a wide range of building and construction issues. Today, Gary is spending a significant amount of his time on that winter farmers market project I talked about a moment ago. And looking forward, significant projects here in Town Hall and a potential community center project will also require his skills. Jennifer Reese Taggart is the executive director of the beloved Brighton Memorial Library. Many people who never set foot in the rest of Town Hall spend hours each week at the Brighton Memorial Library. And Jennifer makes sure that library is a resource for everyone in the community, young and old, computer savvy, or committed book reader. The Brighton Memorial Library was voted best library in Monroe County a few years back, and Jennifer is the shining star that leads the library to excellence. We also heard mention of the role that town historian Mary Jo Lanphier played in the recent Brickyard Trail art exhibition. But Mary Jo is a priceless resource on all things related to Brighton's history. When we need information on historic properties in Brighton, Mary Jo is often the source. But she was also the person that I turned to when I wanted to address my concern with the murals in the front lobby of Town Hall and whether they accurately depicted our first residents, the Onondaga. And we will hear more about that in coming months. Lisa Pavlovich administers our town court, which generates a remarkable number of records, but makes important decisions in the lives of people. Her attention to detail and her working relationships with our judges, our court staff, and the public at large is vital to the smooth operation of the court. Speaking of our judges, Judge Karen Morris and Judge John Falk are leaders in the legal community, as well as on the bench. Brighton's tradition of judicial excellence is well-deserved and dates back to such noted town justices as Judge Jim Morris and Judge John Ark. This year, after 29 years, we're sad to learn that Judge Karen Morris has made the decision that she will retire at the end of the year. And I know for the rest of the year, she will be rightly recognized and celebrated for her great work. Town Clerk and Receiver of Taxes, Dan Amon, is the Town Hall's record keeper, but he does so much more. He really functions as sort of an ombudsman. If anybody has a really tough question, take it to Dan, and the odds are he'll have an answer. So many residents walk through the door of the town clerk's office each day, and Dan and his amazing team respond to their needs. Dan, thank you for being the glue that holds us all together. Finally, my colleagues on the town board, Jason DePonzio, Chris Warner, Robin Wilt, Christine Corrado. Each of you are engaged in many aspects of town government, work that we don't always see, but each week you participate in meetings of the town board or town board committees. You have the best interests of residents at heart, and you do your homework so that you're ready to make the tough decisions that come with your elected offices. Assistant to the Supervisor, Bridget Monroe, is the primary point of contact for people and organizations that wish to meet with me, that wish to hold special events here in the town, or have some other particular need relating to town government. She's also worked closely staffing the Idea Board since its establishment in 2019 and helps organize many town special events and media opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, not the happiest part of her work, but Bridget continues to be the primary point of contact for people with concerns about their RG&E bills and other RG&E customer service issues. This is an exciting time in Brighton, but the reality is we can't always anticipate the challenges or the opportunities that lie ahead. I'll always try to make myself available to you, the residents of Brighton, whether you stop into my office or even better, when you stop me on the Brickyard Trail. Together, we will make Brighton a special place to call home, a community of diverse neighborhoods, committed to education, sustainability, and an optimistic vision for tomorrow. Today, the state of the town of Brighton is strong, and with our plans for dealing with a complex and challenging future, Brighton will remain strong. It's a privilege and an honor to serve you in this great community as your town supervisor. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll now begin the open forum, which we hold at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda this evening. And by the way, yes, thank you to those of you that were able to attend. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. If you can't, also, no problem at all. As I was saying, the open forum is an opportunity to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda tonight. If you're here in person and would like to speak during the open forum, simply raise your hand so we can recognize you. If you're participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the open forum, you must first join the meeting on Zoom. As I mentioned previously, there are detailed instructions for doing so on the town's webpage. You'll be admitted from the Zoom waiting room by the host to speak if you use the Zoom raised hand function. I ask all speakers to the open forum, whether in person or remotely, to please state your name and address. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer any questions you may ask, particularly if your question relates to a matter that's not on our agenda this evening. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum held at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen to your words. Therefore, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or other speakers. And please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everyone else wishing to speak. So we'll now begin the open forum. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the board during the open forum? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to address the board during the open forum? I don't see anybody. I'm not sure if the Zoom is being monitored as well in the office. But again, is there anyone in the room or on Zoom that would like to address the town board during the open forum?
Bill, if we have no one, I move to approve the agenda.
Thank you,
Second.
Chris. Thank you, Christine. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. We have 3 items of communication this evening. Can I have a motion to receive and file those communications?
So moved.
Second.
The first one is from the Sustainability Oversight Committee. I referenced it during the State of the Town message, but it is a request that the town consider the inclusion of zero emissions systems and other green energy inputs as part of the proposed upgrades to the town hall HVAC and more broadly defined town hall project. As I mentioned, I think that's a fair and it's a good request, and I've forwarded on to Everett, who of course helps staff our Sustainability Oversight Committee, And we're going to get back some information as to what additional costs that might incur and what areas that might cover. So thank you, Everett, for helping to address that. We also heard from, and Everett, is there anything you
No, I
want
was
to
going to
add?
say, yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look.
Thanks. We also have communication from former town board members Sherry Kraus and Jean Kraus expressing their opposition to the proposed New York Housing Compact. I will note that the Housing Compact was a part of Governor Hochul's budget proposal for 2024. I would also note that both of the single house budgets proposed by the Assembly and the Senate exclude the New York Housing Compact and instead include incentives that I believe are intended to address some of the concerns that have been raised that the Housing Compact include more incentives that will encourage, for example, infrastructure improvements that will make housing feasible in communities. So, but we appreciate the input from the Krauses. This is obviously a hot topic in Albany as part of the budget process, and we'll be interested to see where it shakes out. And finally, I referenced a communication from a former resident, I believe, whom we have redacted his name. But that resident reached out earlier this week to Chief Cathaldi, and I want to share that communication, and again, we'll do so without identifying the sender. Dear Police Chief Cathaldi, my name is blank, and I lived in Rochester for 6 years, from 2016 until 2022. In 2019, I had a mental health crisis, and a team of police from Brighton responded to the call. I am well now, and have been well since 2019, and that may be the best news of all. I cannot tell you how grateful I am to the professionalism, care, and compassion demonstrated by your officers, one in particular. I don't know his name, but I fled when he stopped me, and he caught up on me and got me to the ground. In my distress, I was fighting back, thinking I was in danger. In fact, even after my opposition, my trying to bite his hand, he took me in an ambulance to Strong Hospital. I hold dual Master of Science degrees in epidemiology and counseling, and am an advocate for change regarding our treatment and understanding of mental health issues. I wanted to highlight this positive experience to you and that I'm deeply grateful. Too often these events of professionalism and compassion, service and care are taken for granted. If you could identify the officer and pass along my deepest gratitude for his professionalism, it would be appreciated. One of my initiatives is to have training for all first responders to interact with people in mental health distress for a higher chance of a positive outcome. I wanted to offer this to you regarding a training to reinforce positive outcomes for people in mental health crisis. It is called Mental Health First Aid, and a link is provided. There are many excellent trainers in the Rochester area who could provide this training to your officers. Again, thank you for the care I received during a time of vulnerability and confusion. I'm well and healthy now, and in some measure, that is due to the service to community your officers provided. All the best. And again, his name is redacted. And I think it's important, Chief Cathaldi, of course, replied. Thank you for sharing your story with me, and I'm thrilled you're doing well. I will review the case's specifics tomorrow and share your comments with our team. It just so happens we're doing our refresher mental health first aid training for all of our members this week. We actually have an instructor in our department who we sent to Georgia to receive this valuable training so it could be brought back to our entire department. I'll redact your name and date of birth, and we'll make sure our instructor shares your story, if that is okay with you, as I think your story is an important one. Again, I'm so happy you're doing well, and advocating for this training is important. All the best from Chief Cathaldi. Chief, thank you for that. What a powerful first person recounting. And I don't know if there's anything further you'd like to say.
It certainly was. It was very timely because we are doing our refresher training. And since I received this last night, I went to that training today, and I plan on going, and I actually read that. I gave that to our instructor to read to each one of the members that are taking that refresher training, just to reinforce how important of a topic that is, and how many people we interact with that have emotional crisis. So it was great timing.
It was indeed. Thank you. So those are the items of communication we have. We have a motion to receive and file them. Does anybody have any comment or questions on any of them? Hearing none, Dan, would you please call the roll on that motion?
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Next, our Town Board Committee reports, starting with Community Services Committee. Robin?
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee met last Wednesday, March 15th. Among the items that we discussed were under continuing business, park issues. Parks are still busy setting up 2023 service contracts and bids for various equipment and supply needs. Park staff also remain busy with park and facility maintenance, especially on the trails, given the stormy weather that we experienced over the past couple weeks. Bids were opened for a new mowing contract, and a new mowing contract will be awarded to one of the responsive vendors that is on the agenda for tonight. The Parks Department is beginning to receive communication from various youth athletic groups on what their anticipated spring field usage may look like. And because of the surge in field use in 2022, at Buckland Park in particular, park staff will be identifying athletic fields to be rested in the spring based on how those fields responded to fall maintenance. Buckland continues to see a large winter park usage, and given the extensive wear and tear, park staff anticipated closing the lodge down during a week in March to complete some maintenance repairs and tasks. We're closing, in the interest of continued efforts at increasing energy efficiency, all indoor concession and maintenance building lights at Buckland Park have been converted to LED fixtures, and the Parks Department is currently working with DPW to gather cost estimates to replace the outdated oil-based heating system at Carmen Clark Lodge in Brighton Town Park to update it to a more energy efficient and cost-effective heat pump system. An update to our recreation programs. Summer program planning is underway. Summer playground camp registration begins on Tuesday, March 28th for Brighton residents. Resident registration for all other summer programs will begin on Tuesday, May 2nd. Non-resident registration for all summer programming will begin on May 16th. The Recreation Department is currently recruiting for both seasonal and full-time openings. We had discussions on recruitment and hiring for a full-time recreation leader position in particular. We also had discussion of the Brookside facility and finalization of the sale and transfer, which occurred this past week. And we've also discussed our feasibility study draft final report that is expected soon. An update to our winter farmers market. Construction continues on the site, and the pace will increase as the weather breaks. In particular, site grading and addressing any potential safety issues with existing structures is being considered. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. Our 1619 project slow book read, which is being co-facilitated by Sue Barocas and Susan Boland, I'm sorry, there was a typo there, is underway at the Empire State College on Wednesdays every other week from 1:30 to 3 p.m. The remaining sessions include March 29th, April 12th, April 26th, May 10th, May 24th, and June 7th. Space is still available. If you'd like to join the group, you can register for that at our Town of Brighton Recreation website. There was just some discussion of the timing of the course offering and the potential to consider a later time in the day for future town and recreational educational offerings through the Idea Board. The Idea Board did meet this past March 16th, and the board is actively recruiting additional members. An update to our clean energy community and priority actions thereof, and also our sustainability funds. We continue to await word on EV grant funding for our application submission, and we're pursuing other federal sustainable funding opportunities. An update to a potential for an Urban League of Rochester, ESL, and Town of Brighton first-time homebuyers program. We did have an in-depth meeting held with ESL where there was a discussion for potential for tailored research surveys and prospective next steps in implementation of such a program. We're keeping our options open and hope that we can make some progress on this. An update to our Clean Sweep, which is returning again to full force this year in its original format. Our monetary donors are returning in full force. Our Brighton Central School District partners are committed to the event again this year, and both at French Road Elementary School and 12 Corners Middle School, they will be increasing their involvement from last year, and we look to bring back busing so that our final event at Frez will be in full force, hopefully attended by students who can get transportation. Event registration will be open by April 1st. We did have an update to a discussion of No Mow May. Christine, did you want to provide that update, or?
Very short update is that the Conservation Board is taking up an exploration of how to incorporate pollinator-friendly practices in our town that also align with town code, and we will continue to work on finding that sweet spot such that the honeybees will continue to do their work.
Thank you. And then under items of new business, we had our annual report of the Brighton Farmers Market. The 2022 report was delivered by Sue Gardner-Smith, the director. 2022 was a record year for the farmers market. Sales were up, as was attendance. The director does feel that some of the increased success of the market was due to the community realizing the mission of the market in terms of sustainability and securing local food sources, and that being particularly poignant given how we grappled with food supply chains during the height of the COVID pandemic. There was a discussion of how applications are reviewed and accepted in accordance with the mission of the market, and the fact that there is more interest in the spaces, more interest than there is availability of spaces for vendors, and how we try to balance that tension. Special events were welcomed throughout the summer, and the director is coordinating with the Chief Diversity Officer, Miriam Moore, to increase our cultural diversity in our event programming space. We continue to incorporate use of the SNAP program, but some of the incentives that were provided to SNAP customers during COVID are ending. And there was a discussion of more widely promoting the availability of SNAP, in particular the local market bonus program, in conjunction with our overall market promotion efforts for the market. We continue to increase efforts to promote diversity at the market in both vendors and customer base, as well as our cultural programming. We're working with the Idea Board and our Chief Diversity Officer to have more of a regular presence at the market. And we also discussed the return of Council Member on Your Corner and scheduling options available for that continuing program. And finally, there was a discussion of summer construction at Brighton High School in the front bus loop. And its impact on parking at the market and some options that we will be considering. And then finally, an update to upcoming events. The Brighton Winter Farmers Market is currently in session. That is at the Brookside Recreation Center, 220 Idlewood Road, on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. The Recreation Department April Recess Camp is filling up quickly, so we encourage you to sign up today to keep your kids busy during the April break. Space is limited. This is an extremely affordable program at $52 a day, and the session will extend from Monday, April 3rd through Friday, April 7th. For full details, we encourage you to check us out online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. Bill did mention that we have the bunny returning to the Brickyard Trail, and we will also have our bunny hop at the Brookside Recreation Center on Friday, April 14th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. That will include family fun, music, and activities. The price is a reasonable $10 for family, and we do require registration. So again, do check that registration site out at the townofbrighton.org/rec webpage. We will have our DEA, National Pharmaceutical Take Back event, returning to Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing on Saturday, April 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have our annual Arbor Day celebration on Saturday, April 29th at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Those details are still being determined, and we'll announce the location at a later date. We also mentioned that our Brighton Clean Sweep will be returning on Saturday, May 13th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. here at Brighton Town Hall. And finally, our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will take place on Sunday, May 21st from 9 a.m. to 12 noon at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, April 19th at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center. As always, members of the public are welcomed and invited to attend. We do ask that you access the building from the Winton Road entrance. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Robin. Jason, Finance Committee?
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, March 15th. Each of the items that were discussed in committee appear on tonight's Town Board agenda and will be discussed in further detail. Our next meeting will take place on Wednesday, April 5th.
We meet at 8:30 in the morning here in the main auditorium at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks very much. Public Safety Committee, Chris.
Thanks, Bill. The Public Safety Committee met on the 14th, last week Tuesday. We had reports from the various services. The Brighton Volunteer Ambulance reported receiving 630 requests for services through February, of which 238 were for Brighton residents receiving services. They also provided 55 calls responded to 55 calls for mutual aid. They did note that Wayne County has now established a municipal management EMS service, which will further increase the competition for personnel, and they are in short supply. We continue to be fully staffed, however, and we're very impressed with the response time we have here in Brighton. They also reported that they've had very productive meetings with Senator Jeremy Cooney and Assembly member Sarah Clark regarding direct pay to provider legislation, which is hopeful to help with cash flow in the ambulance corps. Also, they did note that they've scheduled their BVA open house for May 21st in the afternoon from 1,300 to 1,600 hours. And for those of us that had to do the math, that's from 1 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They also participated in the domestic violence extremism training that was held on the 21st at the JCC. The Brighton Fire Department indicated that they've responded to approximately 500 calls year to date, and they responded to a working fire on Maywood Drive on the 6th of March. They also sent a crew to fill in at the city firehouse during the city's response to a 5-alarm fire that night, and the crew responded to 2 working fires in the city during this fill-in period. With regret, they informed the committee of the passing of their retired career captain and former fire commissioner, Ward Stanton, on February 15th, and we very much appreciate Commissioner Stanton's service all those years. Also, firefighter Scott Ellman will retire on March 26th after 32 years of service in the fire department. The Brighton Police Department reported that they had calls for service to the end of February, totaling 8,222. The chief was pleased to announce that Lieutenant Tim Karch will graduate from the FBI National Academy on Thursday, the 16th of March. That's correct. So that was he's already graduated last week. And that kind of training is really superior, and we're pleased to have Lieutenant Karch receive that. The department reported that stolen vehicles in February were down somewhat from the month of January, and they note that they still have some clubs available for distribution to folks. And Chief, are those clubs available only for folks, the Hyundais and Kias, or anyone?
Well, at this point, I mean, we've got about 2 boxes left, maybe 2 dozen. So if somebody wants one, we'll certainly make accommodations for them.
That's terrific. They also reported that they've recovered 2 firearms within a week, one from a South Winton Road incident and another from a student, an MCC student. The body-worn camera, the BWC metadata auto-tagging program is now live, which minimizes the time officers have to spend manually entering CAD data in the Axon portal. This will ensure accuracy as well for easier search and retrieval. And the Hoops for Heroes had to be canceled because of the snowstorm, but hopefully that can be rescheduled. Henrietta Fire District had 1,128 calls through February 28th and 147 calls in Brighton through, again, February 28th. 51 calls on the 23rd of February came in as a result of the ICE event, which was district-wide. They've gotten their new engine 75 for the West Brighton station. It was to be delivered on the 13th last week. The district is partnering with CHS to provide monthly CPR and stop the bleeding training to the community.
As far as the town council, a resident came and expressed concern about the lack of traffic lights along Penfield Road and asked for a review. Discussion was had about that this was a county road. And there was also a discussion about the request to install a pedestrian crossing with flashing lights at Corbett's Glen, and the need to look at this as a 2024 budget item. And also the town road speed reduction study has been approved by the town board, and we look forward to that report as well. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 11th at 0800 hours. We hope to see the public there.
Thank you very much, Chris. And finally, Christine, Public Works.
I have to compliment my colleague for his adoption of the lingo for
you
public
heard that?
safety. I'm impressed.
I was impressed.
So Public Works also met on March 14th. We led off the meeting with a very important discussion with a representative from RG&E. The government relations representative, Mark Baracco, attended to provide some accountability regarding the power outages that continue to occur on the circuit that serves Evans Farm, Willow Bend neighborhood, and the Edgewood Avenue neighborhoods along there. The most recent outage was on the evening of March 10th at a time that RG&E did not anticipate. Considerable reason for concern about outages, and yet that circuit failed again. Mr. Baracco indicated that RG&E determined that the root cause of the outage, which lasted about an hour and 10 minutes, was equipment failure at RG&E pole number 51 along that circuit due to the heavy weight of snow. During the outage, approximately 1,700 customers lost power. That covers customers in Brighton and in Henrietta. Mr. Baracco acknowledged that this neighborhood has previously experienced outages that were unrelated to storm events and indicated that RG&E is developing an infrastructure improvement plan to provide resiliency to this area. RG&E is planning on holding a public meeting in the near future here at Town Hall with neighborhood leaders to provide residents in the neighborhoods an update on the ongoing outages and potential solutions that are under consideration. Public Works Committee and all involved would like to see that meeting finalized sooner rather than later. This is a long-needed meeting that the neighborhood leaders met last with RG&E in August, and there has been little evidence of progress on making repairs and fortifying that circuit. So we look forward to a date. I don't, at this point.
One of the neighborhood representatives could only meet on one day in March, and that day did not work for everybody. So unfortunately, because of that unavailability, it's going to have to be scheduled sometime in April.
And that neighborhood leader cannot send a delegate.
Well, this is a meeting for neighborhood leaders, for the association leaders, for the folks who were here previously, and a couple of folks, to come with them. So all I'm doing is reporting what the neighborhood
I appreciate that.
leader reported to us.
All right. Well, stay tuned. The committee further, in old business, the committee had an update on the town hall study. INX Architecture completed a study of town hall that has resulted in the development of a priority project. The study also includes 5 alternative or additional projects that could be incorporated into the priority project, provided that funding is available. The priority project includes HVAC improvements for the full building, HVAC improvements, full building environmental abatement, accessibility upgrades, new exterior front entry stairs and ramps, first floor restroom and mother's room, accessible departmental service counters, and security upgrades. The 5 alternates or additional projects being considered to determine whether the scope of the priority project should be expanded include DPW department renovations, renovations to the offices of the town clerk, finance department, assessor department, human resources, chief diversity officer, and technology department. And that alternative also includes renovations to the staff room and the downstairs conference room. It includes repair to the town parking lot and drainage system. It includes constructing a facilities shop along the rear of Town Hall and the installation of a snow melt system for the proposed new accessible entrance. The Public Works Committee has requested compilation of all comments from committee members regarding the scope of the project by the end of the week. And you also heard earlier that the Sustainability Oversight Committee has also weighed in on the proposals. So we'll be proceeding with the incorporated information. The Winters Farmers Market update, you heard some earlier. The town staff provided an update on construction progress of the facility. And they noted that the entire foundation system has been installed along with most of the underground plumbing. So all of those things that are invisible to most of us have been done almost as if by magic, but it's actually the hard work of town staff. As construction progressed, staff started thinking about safety and operations of the site once it is open to the public this fall. One of the concerns relates to the steep drop-off from the main walkway to a nearby depressed area with sparse remnants of an old foundation wall that is in very poor condition. The area was recently cleaned out by site crews and appears to have been used at one time as a dumping ground for old tires and debris. Certainly not anything we want there going forward. Staff expressed concerns that patrons and children visiting the market could wander off from the main walkway and into this unsafe area. Therefore, site crews are proposing to remove the remains of the foundation walls and a nearby shed structure that is also in poor shape and subsequently fill in the area to transition down to the parking lot with a gentle slope. No additional charges are anticipated for this work, as fill is readily available on site and the work will be performed by town crews. Additionally, town staff requested pricing from Building Innovation Group, the general contractor, to determine what it would cost to secure 2 buildings on site, which will remain, but need to be secured for public safety. That proposal includes the demolition of trusses, roofing system, and block gable ends, and saving the existing barn cupola at the milk barn, and the repair of about 1,200 square feet of roof, broken purlins, and refastening of loose steel at the existing pole barn for a total cost of $46,830. The committee was amenable to proceeding with this work to ensure that the site is safe when it opens to the public this fall. And town staff will review the unit pricing of the proposal from BIG to determine that the proposal is consistent with the contract documents and review that the total cost of the proposal is within the change order parameters approved by the board before proceeding. 3 matters were tabled: Home Acres Entry Monuments update, installation of RRFBs at the crosswalk on Westfall and Evans Lane, and installation of RRFBs at the crosswalk on Penfield Road at Corbett's Glen. They were tabled due to time limitations. We did, however, review a traffic control box design that was submitted recently by a resident. The committee reviewed the proposed design for painting a traffic control box in town. It was a delightful design. Kind of out of this world, if I may, with a space exploration theme. The committee approves that the artist should move ahead. And a location, I think, has been considered.
I've indicated I've not heard back yet. We're considering the South Clinton and Elmwood.
Excellent. So keep your eyes peeled for.
And you mentioned
changes.
RRFB, and I know what that
And
means.
what are those RRFBs?
Rapid
Rectangle.
rectangular. The last one's being a flashing beacon.
Got it. Got the lingo for everything down pat.
I was asking you to say it.
But you noticed
thanks for
I
your
was
help.
wise enough to toss it back to you. Well done. The committee did enter into executive session briefly to discuss employment of a particular person. And with that, the next committee meeting will be April 11th at 9 a.m., where we will pick up where we left off.
All righty, thank you for all those committee reports. We'll move on to new business. Going to you, Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $919,240.49. Notable claims included to American Rock Salt Company in the amount of $62,372.76, representing payment for road salt. Also to the Brighton Central School District in the amount of $70,399.44, which represents payment for the annual rental for the Brookside School facility for the Recreation Department. Also to Building Innovation Group in the amount of $183,738.55, representing payment for general contracting services for Phase 3 of the Farmers Market. Also to Seamless Decorating, LLC, in the amount of $9,650, representing payment to repair and paint the ceiling in the library. And finally, to Amoring and Johnson, Inc., in the amount of $5,600, representing payment for plumbing services for Phase 3 of the Winter's Farmers Market. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Any discussion on those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to approve the use of forfeited funds for the purchase of one vehicle and to amend the 2023 police budget by increasing the police department's automobiles account by $18,500 from the forfeited property account. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second? Sorry, who? Robin? Okay. This is a matter that was discussed in some detail at the Finance Committee. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Geese Control of New York for the provision of geese control for an amount not to exceed $670 per month from April 1st to June 30th, 2023, and August 1st to November 30th, 2023. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This, of course, is our long-standing contract with Geese Control of New York to address goose population at the Lockdeville area. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Humanely done, I would note. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Good timing because they're starting to stare down cars in the street. Received
yeah.
multiple calls last week of
Did you?
one that just stood their ground in the middle of the road and was just, daring cars to come at it.
That may not be so humane.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine, why don't you continue on with these next
Happy to do so. The next
mowing contracts?
Yes. The next item seeks to award mowing contract B to Greystone Lawn and Landscape and authorize the supervisor to enter into a fee-based contract with said business for mowing services effective April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2024. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this was referenced earlier. This is one of the two mowing contracts that we're doing tonight. Any discussion? This is the one that basically covers mostly cul-de-sacs and a couple of other little small areas. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. And the second mowing contract.
Happily, the next matter seeks to award mowing contract C to Greystone Lawn and Landscape and authorize the supervisor to enter into a fee-based contract with said business for mowing services effective April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2024. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this contract covers some pocket parks and some drainage ponds and similar small land areas for mowing. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? If none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin, if you do the next one, please.
Certainly, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Ravi Engineers for emergency design services related to the Chelmsford Lane Culvert Repair/Replacement Project in an amount not to exceed $1,940. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
We've been talking about this culvert at a couple meetings. Everett, anything you want to add? This was, or
Well,
Ken?
yeah, I mean, this is just separate services related to the emergency component of the evaluation, separate from the design, but it's with the same firm, and it's for the amount noted there.
Great, thank you.
And I was just going to point out that the agenda does call it a design contract. It's not. It's just for that evaluation. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with the design element of this.
The emergency word is...
The emergency word is
accurate.
correct. The
Yep.
design word
Yep.
is not.
Okay. In any event, we have a motion. We have it seconded. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to adopt a bond resolution to fund the purchase of one heavy-duty 10-wheel snowplow truck with snowplow equipment in an amount totaling $390,000. I move we adopt the bond resolution as prepared by bond counsel to the town.
Second.
This is a truck that purchase was anticipated in our capital improvement plan and in our budget, and we also anticipated at the time we would bond it, given the significant cost of it, and that's consistent with our past practice. I don't anticipate we'll be going to market very quickly, but Paula, if you want to elaborate a little bit.
Because of possible delivery delays, we will get the vehicle ordered once our permissive referendum period passes. And at that point, we will only go to market when we know the approximate delivery of the vehicle, which could be, 9
Next
months,
year.
18 months, exactly, so.
Great, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye, and our last resolution in regular session, Chris.
That's to authorize the supervisor to enter into a stormwater maintenance agreement with 2735 Monroe LLC for property located at 2735 Monroe Avenue. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Everett, a little background on this.
Yeah, so this is for the proposed development at 2735 Monroe Avenue as part of the unified stormwater sizing criteria required by New York State DEC. They're incorporating some green infrastructure components. As such, those components require annual maintenance and reporting, and this is what this agreement is intended to do.
Thanks. And 2735 is the...
Proposed Chipotle.
Used to be a Pizza Hut.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to get that out there.
With a Chipotlane, I might add. Yeah.
We have a motion and a second on that. Any further discussion? Moving from Pittsford, I might add.
Yeah.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Only thing I want to add in terms of matters of the supervisor, we will begin our regular yard debris pickup, the highway department, starting Monday, April 10th. A little early this year, but we've had some wind, we've had a lot of warm weather during the season, so that's a date that seemed to make sense down at the highway department, and as always, our trucks will be around. Remember, containerize it. That's the easiest for all involved. If you've got larger quantities and you need them out there in bulk, that's fine too. Don't put them in the street, please. Put them, if you have a tree lawn between sidewalk and the street, leave them there. If not, just put them on your lawn as close as possible to the street, and our highway crews will come around and pick them up. And of course, as always, we will have our maps where you'll be able to see where our crews are working.
Yeah, that's correct. We'll have interactive online GIS mapping that we'll update on a constant basis.
Perfect.
And Bill, along those lines, I want to note, I think how remarkable the department's work was in clearing trees taken down after the ice event. I know my neighbor and I cleared a very large tree limb and pulled it into our usual spot, and within a week, there was a lot of limbs and branches and a large trunk that came down, and all of a sudden it disappeared. And there was still snow on the ground, so they had other work they were working on too at the same time. It was remarkable effort.
I'll pass the word along to the highway department.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Matters of the town attorney.
Just a few brief matters. A while ago, this board had authorized a contract to be entered into between the town and Enterprise Fleet Management. This was an initiative brought to you, I think, by Mike Guyon, Steve Zimmer, Everett Garcia, to have the town start leasing vehicles in a manner that would allow us to better manage our fleet of vehicles and save the town some money and turn those vehicles over in a way that would be most economical and most environmentally friendly as well. We have been laboring to get a contract signed and get the provisions of the contract to match the representations that were made by Enterprise as they marketed this program to us. I'm happy to report we did in the last week finalize that contract, and the supervisor executed it, and I believe that our first two pickup trucks, Silverados, were ordered earlier this week. So we are now actively participating in that program as you had intended. It just took a little while to get there, but good news is we're up and running. The only other matters I do have a couple matters that will require executive session regarding the employment of particular people, if we could do that after the board meeting today.
Will do. Thank you, Ken. Matters of the town clerk. Dan.
Nothing this evening.
Matters of the board.
Nothing this evening.
Well, then, as Ken asked, can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person?
Bill, I move we go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. I do not anticipate that we'll be coming back into public session after the executive session. Our next town board meeting will be Wednesday night, April 12th at 7 p.m. right here. We'll see you then. And the only other thing I want to add is I want to wish our residents and friends observing Ramadan a Ramadan Kareem.
Thank you.